let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
My quote would be, treat people the way you want to be treated.
It's a golden rule.
I mean, it's simple. If you
Yeah.
can keep it that simple.
That's simple and that hard sometimes.
It's
too.
really hard.
Yeah.
But I try to work with my employees to, that's the way it needs to be. Front of the house, back of the house, doesn't matter where you are. Treat people the way you want to be treated and things will go pretty smooth.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, owner of Delaney's Hole in the Wall, Dick Delaney. Dick, my man, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I am feeling unstoppable today.
Dude, I'm psyched to have you here. I found you by way of Jen. Her name, I always want to say it out.
Anzaldi.
Anzaldi. I don't know why I struggle with that. My last name's Cacciatore. I should be better at rolling that off my tongue. She said amazing things about you. I'm just really blown away at what the Valley Originals is doing here in northern New Hampshire, the Mount Washington Valley. 25 restaurants coming together, supporting each other. What you guys are doing here, I cannot wait to make an example of. But first, I want to make an example of you and your business and how you got to where you are. So real quick, what is your business today? Get big picture. Don't get into story. Just like, what is your business?
Yeah, we're a full service restaurant and sports bar, 145 seats. I don't know if you know how far you want me to go further.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, do you do catering?
We don't do catering.
Okay, just a la carte dine-in only?
Yeah.
Takeout?
Yes, we do takeout. We do
Online
quite
ordering?
a bit of takeout. Online ordering. We're still in a labor shortage in this area.
Yeah, it's tough. Seasonal
and
spot.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons we don't cater anymore. We used to do quite a bit, but we're circling the wagons. We're only open 5 days a week since COVID.
I mean, the reality of it is even the most successful people in this industry are struggling. It's just when I started this podcast, I was like, oh, I'm going to share all these inspirational stories. I'm going to get these millionaires on the show. And then I started to realize, oh, man, it's a collective struggle right now. That's just the reality of it. What can you share total gross?
Last year was 4.2 million.
Awesome. That's huge. And what percentage of that would you say is dine-in versus takeout?
Oh, probably 90%.
Dine-in.
I would say dine-in.
Got it. Are you willing to share percent profit?
15%.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good money, man. So let's get into it. So before we share who you are and how you got to where you are today, let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
My quote would be, treat people the way you want to be treated.
It's a golden rule.
I mean, it's simple. If you can keep it that simple.
That's simple and that hard sometimes.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But I try to work with my employees to, that's the way it needs to be. Front of the house, back of the house, doesn't matter where you are. Treat people the way you want to be treated and things will go pretty smooth.
Great way to get this thing started. So where does it make sense to start sharing your story?
I mean, we can start at the beginning.
So you were 1994 is when you opened Delaney's, correct?
That's correct.
Were you in restaurants before that?
I was. We moved. My wife and I moved up here in 1981.
Okay.
I'm from Massachusetts.
Where, Mass?
Dedham, Mass.
Oh, cool.
She's from. I met her in California.
Okay.
Brought her back to Dedham,
Were you
Mass.
skiing?
No, at the time I met her. I worked at a ski and sports shop in Huntington Beach, California.
I want to take a moment to pause to recognize Dick for taking a day off on one of the first powder days of the season to talk to me. It was snowing last night. He's here talking to me. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I love Jen, and that's why I'm here.
I can't wait to talk to her. She's up next. So you meet your wife. You're in California, working in a restaurant.
So I bring her back to out there.
right,
I worked
you're
at a ski shop, and I thought I was going to come back. I won't. Anyways, I wound up bringing her back to Massachusetts. She absolutely hated it, and said she wanted to move back west, and I did not. And I had come up here as a kid. My parents got me into skiing at a young age, and I knew about the Mount Washington Valley, and I said, let's go up there. It was fall, foliage. We hit a beautiful week camping, and she said, like day 3 or 4, I could live here.
Yeah, I think the word's starting to get out about New Hampshire too. More and more people are coming this way. They're starting to realize the secrets, man.
For skiing, it's not quite Nirvana. My children, I have 2 kids in Colorado and 1 in Idaho, and it's because of the skiing.
Yeah, they got the powder out there.
Yeah.
But the nature out here, man, the mountains, the hiking.
This is a spectacular
hunting,
area.
fishing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful up
Northern
here.
New England is tremendous.
Never mind. It's horrible. Don't come this way unless you're vacationing.
Yeah,
Help
right.
these folks out. So when did you start getting into restaurants?
So I came up here. I started working at Wildcat Ski Area and then at a local ski shop, thinking that's the direction I wanted to go and open my own ski shop.
You said that was around 81?
81, yeah. And realized quickly that working in a ski shop, I couldn't ski very much. My wife was in
So
the
you're going to open a restaurant
Yeah.
instead?
She was in the restaurant industry her whole life and got into it up here when we first moved up here as a server. And had her days off. Yeah, work nights. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so I just went out and put my name into bus just to get into the entry level into the business.
How old are you at this time?
At that time I was 22.
Okay.
22.
So you're working from basically 81 to 94 for other people in restaurants?
That's correct.
And where did you make it in the world of restaurants before breaking away to do your own thing?
Yeah, I just bartended. I wound up getting my first job at the Scottish Lion, which is now the Moat Mountain. Okay. But the guy there, his name is John Morris, tremendous guy. He and his wife Phyllis. But anyway, he said, I said, I'm looking for, I don't know, a busing position, anything. It was, how'd you like to learn how to bartend? I'm like, absolutely. And he had a really small bar and a tremendous guy who's still locally, Duncan McFadden. He lives locally, and he trained me, and I quickly outgrew that place. Wally Campbell, who you're going to interview, a legend, started the Valley Originals.
News to me, but I can't wait to get him on the show.
Yeah, she told me he's on his way too.
Oh, really?
And
oh my Lord! I think I'm going to do 4 interviews today.
Terry O'Brien, who's tremendous.
Bring
from
it!
the Red Park
Bring it! I can't wait.
Anyway, Wally had a popular restaurant down on the Strip in North Conway. He opened another place across from Attitash, and I went to work for him there. There, I learned so much in a short period of time. It was a winter season, and he had a couple of guys working for him that had owned restaurants, and so through them, I learned just so much about bartending and customer service and everything. I went from there to the Eastern Slope Inn. At the time was a hopping nightclub called Jackson Square, and then to Horse Feathers a year, 6 months after that.
Okay.
And Horse Feathers was the place to go back in those days.
What made it the place to go? To work or to
both? I mean, it was like if you were coming to North Conway from outside of town, anywhere in southern New England, people would say, you got to go to Horse Feathers.
Okay. And that's where you last worked before opening your own place.
That's right.
Where would you say you grew the most as a professional to prepare you to be your own owner?
Yeah, well, I stayed at Horse Feathers for 11 years.
Okay.
So I jumped between.
Yeah, because that from 81
yeah.
was when you started. 94 is when you opened your own place. So 83 would have been when you got to Feathers?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's probably
83.
where you grew the most.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like? Did you have who are your biggest mentors at this time?
I will fall back to the guys I worked with Wally, Tommy Quinn and George Gramstoff, a couple of great guys, but they taught me so much. Ben Williams, Brian Glenn owned Horse Feathers at the time. Ben still has 2 restaurants up here, but I learned a lot from them too. But the first...
That was Ben and Brian?
Ben and Brian, yeah. Ben Williams, Brian
I'm throwing
Glenn.
a lot of names at me right now. I'm trying to write them all down. No, you're good.
But they, my first 8 years there, Ben and Brian were not around. They had opened, I think, 8 or 9 restaurants around New England, and so they kind of kept themselves around on the seacoast, and they had management in place.
What restaurants were they running in the seacoast? So that's where I'm from.
Horse Feathers.
Oh, there is Horse Feathers out there too.
In Portland, Maine, in Dover, New Hampshire.
How many were there?
I think there was 8 or 9.
Okay, wow.
Portsmouth.
Are they all closed now? Because I've never heard of Horse Feathers.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only one left is downtown. Yeah,
Okay.
North Conway.
Got it.
And anyway, so it was a really busy, fun place to work. and I thought I knew, I thought I knew everything about the business then, and boy was I wrong when I got into business for myself. But it was a goal of mine and my family's to get in to open our own restaurant, and we looked for a long time and had a lot of disappointments.
When did you start looking? When did you say
lucky.
to yourself, I want to open a restaurant?
Probably, I would say, by the late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s,
I
early
said, this is
90s.
the business I want to be in, and I'm going to start.
So it took about 6 or 5 years to get to the point where you could open your own restaurant.
Well, again, we put down payments on things. Things fell through. It was like getting so frustrating. I almost gave up.
What was the struggle for you?
It was finding the right location, and really that's what it came down to.
How did you make that? I mean, how'd you feel going through all this process to be constantly let down? What was that feeling?
Yeah, it was frustrating.
Yeah. How'd you overcome it?
It was frustrating. I just persevered. I can remember my mother. One of her famous lines was, "Things happen for a reason, dear."
Yeah.
And I'd be so pissed and just walk away and just frustrated. We lost money. Didn't get
Tell me more about
payments
that.
back. Just the business side of things, the dirty side of dealing with people you don't know.
Right. I mean, give me what I'm trying to do. My goal is to share and learn through your experiences to create awareness for other people going through the same thing. So, do you think this sort of thing still happens a lot today, or is this maybe further back when people?
No, I bet it still happens. Especially, I mean, you got to be so qualified now. So back then, a local banker could make decisions, based on who you
Do
were
they like you?
and your personality.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I didn't have anything else to go on except for my reputation, and certainly didn't have the money to put down a down payment on buying a building, and or just having enough money to, that the bank would loan me.
Right. So
money.
you lost money.
I didn't lose. Oh, I lost money, yes, like in pursuing purchases.
How did that happen?
These guys wound up basically taking our down payment and running.
Oh my gosh!
And we chased them, and it was $30,000.
Jesus. Yeah. What was their reason for running, or did they just ghost you?
Yeah, they did. They basically, ghosted us. We chased it. My father lent me the money.
Oh my Lord, dude!
And,
how'd that make you feel?
Yeah, not very good.
Oh my gosh, man!
Not very good.
Was your relationship with him bad after that?
No, he was in my corner the whole time. Really, he wound up loaning me $35,000 more.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, but I paid him back everything.
So when did you catch traction? Like, when did you find the spot? When did it work out? And what was different about this experience?
Well, we finally, a local restaurant where I am now. It was a husband and wife team. It was a restaurant for a long time, 50 years. They had it for the last 10. She was the kitchen. She was the kitchen manager and the chef, and they got divorced. He took it over, and he started struggling.
Right.
And he knew we were looking. I had been looking.
You were an exit strategy.
Yeah, he contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in coming in and being his partner.
Yeah.
Didn't want to, but I said, well, it's not going to hurt to go look at his numbers and check the facility out. And unfortunately for him, a month later, the bank took it back from him, and I wound up buying it from the bank.
Okay. So he made a proposal. You didn't like it. He lost it, and then you knew he lost it. You're paying attention to what was going on. You approached the bank.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think if there's an underlying message here that I'm picking up on, just keep showing up. 5 years, 6 years of putting it out into the universe, people are going to hear that, and the more awareness you can create, the more you can tell the universe what you're looking for, the better your odds are that the universe will provide it. You got to put the information out so that it crosses the right person, so you get a lead and something comes back to you. Was in that moment the transaction done? No, but it led to eventually you being aware of this opportunity, and you could follow up and make the job of the bank easier. So what was that conversation with the bank like? Were you like, I know that you just got this, did they give you
It wound up being the same bank that we had been working with.
What was different about this,
Um,
though?
And well, this in their mind, it was the best location that I had looked at,
Okay.
pursued, because it was right on Route
Location.
16,
Yep.
Main Street, which at the time, the northern end of Main Street was all pretty much residential. There wasn't much commercial going on.
Got it.
So in my mind, I didn't think it was the greatest location, but my lawyer, who was a personal friend, and he loved the location. His office was right across the street. So he kind of leaned on it, and I just got some really good advice and was able to buy the building, which is the best thing we ever did. I would recommend.
Why
it.
is that the best thing ever?
Yeah, well, because it's an asset. Obviously, you're not paying rent, and not getting anything for it. And obviously, real estate appreciates usually, and so it has appreciated significantly up here.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I paid $275,000
$275,000 for a 140-seat
restaurant
bar. How much is it devalued for today? It's curious.
Yeah, just the real estate.
Do you have a ballpark? Have you got it appraised recently?
Yeah, I wound up. Yeah.
I mean, are you willing to share that information?
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me going, but another fortuitous thing, I met this gentleman who owned both properties on either side of the restaurant. His family home was south of it, and beautiful home. And he owned a farmhouse that he had 4 rentals in on the north side of our property. He decided they were going to sell everything. I wound up, he had a family in the house, rent to own. I pursued the property next door because I needed more parking right away. Mm-hmm. We got busy right away.
When did this happen?
This was 94, we bought the restaurant. 96, I bought the parking lot.
Okay.
And then in 99, I wound up buying the house.
Okay.
Because the people living there, it all fell through for them. And he came to me and said, you should buy the house too.
So these are just assets that you have now in your portfolio beyond the restaurant industry.
I wound up, this is why I'm circling back, but I wound up selling my house 2 years ago.
Your house that you just purchased?
I purchased the house in 99 right next to the restaurant.
Yep.
2.5 acres of land.
Okay.
And I sold it to a restaurant, a local flatbread restaurant, which is in the Eastern Slope Inn and has been for a long time. And
is that the same flatbread that's a part of all the flatbreads?
Yeah, well, there's 2 different owners of them, but
right.
this guy has a couple in Portsmouth,
Yep.
and he's done. They're really great, but anyways, and I wound up selling that to them for $1.5 million.
Yeah, and how much did you buy it for?
The house I bought for $255.
That's crazy.
In 99. That guy his name was Lawrence Tregenza.
Like,
tremendous. He reminded me of my father. He was.
I mean, where can you go today in 2024, 2025 and buy property that cheap that's going to appreciate that much?
Yeah.
Maybe in the Midwest?
You have to. Yeah, you're going to have to go somewhere that's not quite developed and not discovered.
Yeah. But also, what's 25, 26 years of not appreciation, but like the dollar isn't what it's,
Yeah.
So
no, it's
maybe you can sell it for $3 million, but how much is the value of the dollar going to be in another 20 years? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, all right. So what were your biggest challenges getting open?
Excuse me. For us, it was more back of the house. My wife was front of the house. I was front of the house. And we wound up bringing my sister in, which was the best thing we could have done.
All partners.
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife and I own the real estate, bought the real estate, and we made my sister a third partner in the business.
Got it.
So, and she, at the time, was opening restaurants for a conglomerate, Back Bay Restaurant Group, they were called, in Massachusetts.
Got it.
And so she had a lot of great training stuff and, just a lot of great knowledge, more for the back end.
Got it. So remind me what you paid for the restaurant when you bought it. How much?
We paid $275.
And that you got a loan from the bank to do that.
I did.
So you got so you had a loan. You didn't have to go to anybody else for the money. Did you have operating capital to get started?
I had basically that's what they loaned us. We put down. I got a $50,000 line of credit basically. That everything I purchased, I had to go get approved from the banker.
Got it.
So we did a complete renovation of the front of the house. The back of the house was.
I was gonna say it was probably turnkey, right?
It was and it wasn't. Yeah, I was a bartender at Horse Feathers and had a pretty good following, and so I kind of wanted to make the bar the focal point, and the bar was in a back corner of.
That's where your money is.
Yeah, well, it was for me.
Yeah.
And we were a bar that served food for quite a while.
Yeah.
Until our food got solid, but I needed. So anyway, and my wife she worked up here at the Wildcat Tavern, and had a great following. She worked there for 13 years before we opened the restaurant. So between all the people she knew and the people I knew, second homeowners and tourist type people, we thought we'd have a good shot at getting at least people to come in and give us a shot.
Is your net worth.
Yeah.
And I think if you can go into an area where you have roots, not just because of people knowing you and coming to support you, but like if you get up against it and you need help from the local community, other restaurant owners and operators coming together to support each other, if you have a good reputation, like that goes so far.
It does.
Yeah.
And it did.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Delaney, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
And at the time, we had 3 young kids. We both worked at Mount Cranmore. I was on the ski patrol there, and she worked at the health club there as a instructor. But and all those people supported us, and there was a big. Every Wednesday, there's a local ski race at Mount Cranmore, and it still happens. And it used to be 1,000, people, mostly our industry, restaurant people. But every business had a team, and Horse Feathers had a bunch of places had a big thing on Wednesday afternoons because everyone was out on Wednesday afternoons. And so that was one of the things we targeted right away was we were going to take that Wednesday away from Horse Feathers and some of the other bars in town that had the business at the time, and the locals supported us.
Yeah,
I mean that was the key.
So first year out of the gates, you said the challenges were back of house. You had your experience front of house. Your wife had experience front of house. What was your sister's role? What was her lane?
She wound up being front of the house too.
Okay.
My wife, out of the 3 of us, had the palate.
Okay.
She was a cook. She had.
She knew how to cook.
She knew how to cook.
But did she know how to do costing?
No.
Did she know how to do purchasing?
No.
Did she know how to do menu engineering?
None of that.
Do you guys do those things today? Inventory?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's different now. It's a lot easier.
Well, that's what I'm really interested to get into, because I think opening a restaurant in like the 80s, my parents opened their restaurant in 89, and to your point, my dad had the palate. He loved food. He was obsessed with food. Still is to this day. He wakes up, hey, Lou, what's for dinner? Dad, can we have breakfast first? Like, calm down. But he did not know how to do costing, inventory, recipe, systems, processes, procedures, product, like none of this stuff. So it was a real grind for them. And I'm sure that was a common theme for people opening restaurants in the 80s if you were a mom and pop, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely was. We hired kitchen managers. We went through 3 in the first year because it wasn't what she was looking for, their direction.
Well, good for her,
their
for having a
vision.
standard.
I'm telling you, it was big. And so she wound up the first 2 years in the kitchen.
Okay.
And the business plan was the hardest thing I've ever done. Because I had no business background. I really, I didn't go to college. My wife didn't go to college. So I didn't have any, formal business.
Did you need a business plan to get the loan though?
Yeah,
okay.
I did. Yeah. So
where'd you go to get the help for that?
I just kind of did it myself.
Okay.
I think that's, to me, I have a lot of common sense, and I'm willing to work hard. And that's taken me a long way.
That will take you very far.
So that would be my other big.
So looking at the first, when did things, I like to use the analogy of shifting a car, right?
Yeah.
You're in first gear right now, learning things. You have some experience. You don't know how to run. You thought you knew how to run a restaurant, but you realized later on you had no clue.
Oh
what was second gear for you?
Well, we opened August 29th. Which was basically the end of our busy season. So foliage was good back in those days, but nothing like it is now. Which it worked out because we really didn't want to.
When you say foliage, you mean the traffic.
Yeah.
Not the actual literal foliage isn't prettier today than it was.
Foliage season. Yeah, even back then it was busy.
Yeah.
But now it's because of all the beds we have in town now, it's ridiculous.
All the beds, like the hotels.
Now, and unfortunately the VRBOs and all the.
Say that again.
I said unfortunately the VRBOs, the short-term rental.
What is a
market.
VRBO?
VRBO is vacation rental by owner.
Okay,
It's
Airbnb.
Airbnb, same thing.
Yeah,
same thing. And it's killing.
Yeah,
it's killing our long-term rental market, which we really need for employees.
Yeah, but I like let's get into it. We can come back. We'll bookmark what was second gear. But why is that such an issue? So part of my mission with this podcast is to talk about the challenges, to educate each other as business owners, to be aware of these things and why they hurt us. So why does that hurt us?
It came on so fast, and initially.
It came on being
the short-term rental market.
Got it.
And the local realtors were all kind of pushing it.
Why?
Well, for them it was a boon.
Yeah.
People were coming up here buying 2 and 3 properties and short-terming them. And so before we knew it, there was no inventory for long-term rentals.
Why is long-term rentals good for business?
Well, you need your workforce, and you'd rather have them be 10 minutes away than a half hour away or 40 minutes away.
So you have money from New York, money from Boston, money from the cities coming up here, buying up the property, putting a premium on that property during peak seasons when they can get the most out of it, and then outpricing the housing market for people who live up here.
Yeah, I would say that's really accurate. And we haven't been able to overcome it. And
okay,
they are trying to build some low income or affordable housing, but it's taking quite a long time, and it's gonna. It's a problem everywhere.
Yeah.
But it really so now my employees drive from Lovell, Maine, from Ossipee, from Tamworth. It's a haul to get to, but they have to, because they can't afford to pay the rents that are now being charged locally.
Right. So now this means this is probably a huge part as to why the labor costs are skyrocketing, because we need to be able to pay people. It all trickles.
It does.
So it's important that we're talking about these things so we can be aware of what's happening in our community. And I don't know if you lobby against regulations to. I'm thinking about when I was in Saipan for a year out in the Pacific Ocean. If you lived on that island, you had to be Chamorro, which was the native people that lived there, or Carolinian is what they were called, to buy property on that island. That it was a way that they would protect it so when money wouldn't come off island and come and purchase all the land. So how do we set regulations like that? If you want to buy a property here, but that's capitalism on the other side. You can't do that.
You can't.
Right?
You can't. You can just certainly set restrictions, more restrictive, and they're trying to, but it's a little late. Our biggest gripe is I had to sprinkle fire suppression my whole building. And these people with and nobody's sleeping over at my restaurant.
Right.
But these short-term rental people don't have to do anything. They don't have to have a second egress. They don't have to have, they don't have to have a sprinkler system. They're renting a house, commercial. In my mind, it's a business.
Right. They're making
and
money.
they should be treated the same way that I'm treated.
Right.
And that's the big. And finally, the town is coming around to it, but it's too late.
Right.
Well,
I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse. So back to 1981 to 1986. When would you say like that? When was that shift?
Well,
second gear?
So we opened in '94 in August, late August, and the local support was immediate for us. And I told them my business plan was the hardest thing I had done, but I had done it. What I felt very conservative, and knew that worst case scenario, we're going to be able to make this work. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to work harder than
right.
I ever thought I would have to work.
So you get the business plan done. I mean, today there's so many templates and resources out there online to like step by step. Like Live Plan is a literal like software you can go and like they'll walk you through step by step how to create your business plan. So there's more resources today to get that done. It's not as hard as it once was because you can learn and you can just Google search it and have like you watch videos, you can read articles, you can literally have templates printed out.
These days AI can write it for you, right?
Exactly. Seriously.
Yeah, and that's all the bank's looking for. Right. They do their due diligence and go, okay, we're going to give you the money or we're not.
So
that's when I was like, that was an aha moment. And then the winter came, and that Wednesday Mountain Meister race came, and we were packed on Wednesday nights.
That first
winter.
Okay.
So it started right after Christmas.
Okay.
So I got through foliage. We had a lot of bumps in the road. The food wasn't very solid at the time, but the bar was, and people were willing to give us a shot.
I think in the 80s you had a little more grace too.
Yeah.
People's palates weren't as refined as they are today. The standards weren't as high. Is that safe to say? I don't want to make assumptions. I wasn't around back then.
Would agree.
Okay.
And pub food
right.
was the thing.
Are you having a good time? Are you getting drunk? Are your buddies there from the mountain?
Right.
Like, we'll forgive
exactly,
you.
Yeah.
Hospitality trumps
cold.
food all the time.
Yeah.
Not so. I mean, today you still have to have decent food, but if the service is there and people are having a good time, then as long as there's something in their belly, they'll be happy.
Yeah, it is different now, and I mean, for us, we pride ourselves on the food now.
Yeah.
And we flipped like from a bar serving food.
I might have to stop by before I leave town today.
Yeah, you should.
So okay, you already were willing to share that you're doing over $1 million a year total revenue, 15% profit as of 2024.
Mm-hmm. 2023.
2023.
I'm gonna wind up being pretty much on the number this year. We had a tough start this year.
So I guess right. Well, what was the cause for that?
We had a terrible winter.
Oh, right. The snow wasn't that great this year.
It really wasn't. But I don't know. It's just this town usually stays busy, but everyone seemed to be off.
Right.
Even lodging. It's just for the first 6 months, and then July kicked in, and I've caught back up, and we'll be up a little bit over that 4.2.
Got it.
That we did last year. But
so, were you always doing 4.2 million a year?
No.
So
no.
What was that growth? What was the evolution? Like, take me through those points of evolution.
Yeah. I mean, we jumped. I would say I can't even think back so far because it's been 30 years. Yeah. But we made money right away. But I mean, I don't think we got to $1 million until probably 97, 98. $1 million in sales. 4 years, 5 years.
15 years in. Is that right?
No, 4. We started in 94.
Oh, that's right, 94. I was thinking 84. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
it was like 5 years.
When did you do $2 million?
I can't honestly remember. We went up 10%, 15% every year.
Okay.
For the longest time, and now, sort of in the last 2 years, our best year was 2019.
Okay. All right.
Right before that.
What did you do in 2019?
3. Just over 3.
Okay, but you said you did 4.2 2023.
Yeah.
So you're doing even better than 2019.
Yeah.
So
COVID was
Yeah, it was tough.
It was tough, but it was
also-
really good.
Why was it good?
Once they figured it out, the help from the government
Right.
obviously was huge, and then the town jumped in, so we were able to do outside dining when everything was shut down. They allowed us, to take out initially.
Everyone's working remotely, so they're working from the mountain.
Yeah, well, people moved up here.
Yep.
Second homeowners got out of the cities and moved up here. We got really busy.
I think there's a lesson in that too, like an underlying lesson. I've been saying this for a while. Like we need to spread out. There's so much money in the cities. We got to take that money. We got to move it across the country. We got to take it out of Los Angeles, New York, Boston, Chicago, move it out, spread it out. We don't need to be in the big cities anymore to make money. That was a byproduct of the crash of the industrial age. Everybody had to move to the cities for opportunity. Now that people, with the rise of technology, we can work from anywhere. So why are we paying city prices with that city money? Go to like Lewiston, Maine, and live like a king. Get a gold toilet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, spread that money out.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, obviously the working remotely has changed everything, but certainly COVID did and drove a lot of second homeowners up here, and they've stayed. They've this is where they live now.
Yeah.
Well, so that's helped us get busier.
That's
too.
awesome. I mean, in terms of like your business evolution as a business person, right? What were the points of evolution for you? Like thinking back, like when you're like, oh my God, like, why haven't I always been doing this? What were your aha moments?
Yeah. Boy, that's a great question. We just did it so slowly and methodically, and honestly, we worked extremely hard and a lot of hours to be successful. And I think just the common sense decision making, it was never really, we just figured if we did the right thing, the money would follow. And so I never really got hung up on how much we were making or, all I worried about was taking care of my customers.
Yeah. What was the right thing? Get into that.
We want to provide consistent quality food, consistent quality service, and a great atmosphere for that all to happen. And my wife's, again, her palate is amazing. We hired the chef so we opened in 94. He came on in 96, and he's still with us today.
Wow. And what was his background?
He just was a line cook, bouncing around. He grew up in Franconia, but went to California. And
Was he working in restaurants out there?
Yeah.
Did your sister bring him in?
No, it's he just came in off the street, and his name's Delaney. No relation.
I saw that.
I'm like,
this is meant to be.
Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me?
There might be some distance.
Let me see your license.
Maybe some relatives off the boat or
Jeremy
something.
Delaney. Yeah, I'm sure we're a little related somewhere down the line, but so he's been with us for 28 years,
Yeah.
And the consistency, he makes all the soups, he makes all the stocks and sauces, and and that is what sets us apart. You get the same consistent meal.
You said something earlier that I want to kind of reverberate, that you always just tried to do the right thing. And if you trusted if you did the right thing, it would all work out. I mean, I think a lot of people are trying to do that today. I think there's a unfortunate reality, a hard truth, that it's getting harder and harder to do the right thing and be profitable. So when I say things like do the right thing, I'm talking about sourcing locally, high quality ingredients, cost of goods are going up, providing a livable wage to your staff, providing insurance to your staff, giving value to the guests. Like, it's getting harder and harder to do those things. Is that a false statement? Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree 100%. But that just, and it is. I mean, and the only way to combat it is raise your prices.
Right.
And unfortunately, everyone's had to do that multiple times, even during the year, just based on what's going on with the food we're purchasing. Mm-hmm. Basically wages too. I mean, it finally have, pre-COVID, you're paying a line cook $15-16 an hour, and now I'm paying my line cooks $25 an hour. I mean, it's significant. That's
like, I'm not a math person. What is that? A 75% increase in 2-3 years?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
but
is that a bad thing?
No, No, because they work
their asses off.
Yeah, they do.
Not easy work.
And I can't do it without them.
Right. Take somebody from Cush corporate America who they're like easy, not easy, but they're gentle, desk job, and have them stand on their feet for 12 hours a day and burn themselves and cut themselves and have food thrown back at them. And like, it's not easy work.
It's thankless.
It is hard. It's not just like physical hard work. Like, you got to be intelligent to do that work in the kitchen, to be a line cook. I can't do it.
The multitasking that these guys do is unbelievable.
Amazing.
And unfortunately, for some reason, we're not getting younger people into the back of the house.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's the money, and parents saying, it used to be kind of like a rite of passage. You have your kid do the menial dishwasher.
I think I was washing dishes on a milk carton when I was like 9 years old. I wasn't tall enough to reach it, but it was my daycare. They
All
put me
my
to work.
kids were.
Yeah,
I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And now mom and dad want you to be, a busser or a host or work in the front of the house, not in the back of the house where it's really hard work for not much money.
Right.
The bussers make good money. Certainly the servers do. But anyway, so we're recycling. Unfortunately, in this town, guys bounce from place to place for an extra $1.
Right.
I've had a lot of steady long-term help, but I try to take care of them.
What does that look like? How does that manifest?
It's you pay them, you respect them, and treat them.
What does respect look like?
To me, respect is being treated the way I want to be treated.
Back to the way
Back
we
to the
started
simple, yeah.
What were you going to say?
I try to get to know them, know their families, know their problems, respect their problems, and know that they can come to me, and I'll help you as much as I can.
Yeah.
Us, not just me, my wife and my sister.
Is there a story of when you help somebody? Paint the picture of what that looks like.
Just last week, this guy came to me who's, he's been with me for 10 years probably. He rents a trailer on his sister's property, and she wasn't paying the tax bill, and he got evicted without knowing it, and he needed $1,000 to cover the back taxes that he owed. Sorry.
It's all right. It happens.
And so I gave it to him. And he's going to pay me back, a little money out of his paycheck every week. But, just little things like that. But he doesn't need the stress. It wasn't his fault. And he's a great employee.
Taking care of that problem is going to make him be a better employee for you. It's going to take that pressure off.
It's a win-win for me.
He's going to be able to focus. Yeah. I'm kind of curious about when you started to evolve your business in terms like you weren't always doing inventory. You weren't always doing costing, right? Are you purchasing?
I didn't formally do it, but because the bar was my baby.
Right.
So I did a bar inventory every week.
Yeah. Especially, that's where you lose your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I didn't have, I just knew what I went through, what I had on hand,
Yeah.
I didn't have the computer in hand.
Yeah. That's
and I just went, okay, I went through 3 bottles of Captain Morgan and go to the preference report and see how many I sold.
Right. Is there a loss here? Like, where's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and my people knew I was doing it.
Yeah.
And I'd go say, I went through this amount of this and I don't have the sales for it, guys. What's going on?
Yeah. Where's it going? Yeah.
And then, so I learned through that trial and error.
Were you using software to track that?
Yeah, we did have a point of sale.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew how many Captain Morgans I sold in a week or Budweisers I sold in a week or whatever.
Sorry, I heard a beeping. I'm like, what is that? It's not my camera. I've never heard it make that noise. So what software were you using?
We started, what did we do? Posy Touch was, I think, our first system, which Horse Feathers had.
Yep. So you just
I knew it.
Yeah. The fact that you had a POS in 1994 was ahead of the curve. Most people at that point weren't using POS.
Yeah, well, I didn't initially. I
Okay.
couldn't afford to right away. So we just had a cash register and we wrote tickets and
Why did you know you needed a POS?
Efficiencies.
Yeah.
More than anything. And we got busy pretty quick and
When did that happen?
It was very inefficient. I think we got the point of sale by 1996.
Okay.
Probably 2 years.
Yeah, when things really started to pick up for you.
Yeah.
I mean, if I asked you today, what is your prime cost? Would you be able to tell me that?
No.
Okay. I mean, there's some truth to volume kind of takes care of when you're making money, like.
Well, and for me, I mean, we've tried to sell my children and my grandchildren in Colorado. And so we put the restaurant on the market. Once I sold the house, which was 2 years ago, I said, well, I'm going to put the restaurant up too. And we got nobody. We had one person look at it. And so
What was this?
This was
Recently?
No, yeah, within the last 2 years.
Okay. Well, hey, listeners, if you're looking to buy a house up in New Hampshire with a restaurant attached to it that does $4 million a year, I know a guy.
Yeah. Actually, there is living space up above
Just
the restaurant. But anyways, where were we going with that?
No, so basically.
So, yeah, I tried to sell it.
Okay.
Sorry, nothing happened. I talked through Wally, who you're going to meet. One of his good friends who worked for him is a realtor, and he specialized in hospitality.
Got it.
He said, you should talk to Earl. His name's Earl Wasson. And so Earl did me the favor of sitting down with me, and I showed him all my numbers, and he was totally impressed with the business and what we have it for sale for. But he said, nobody's buying restaurants like yours to run themselves anymore. Right now, people that are buying places like yours want management in place, and they just want to take their percentage. They don't want to be involved in the day-to-day.
There's some truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. And it basically, if you were to come in and buy your restaurant, if you leave, if your wife leaves, if your sister leaves, then what is running that restaurant? And do you have systems, processes, procedures, protocols, checklists? Like, is there like a checklist when you walk in that door right now, as of today, where like everybody knows exactly what they're doing?
I wouldn't. Yes, I mean we have all those.
Is that,
but yeah, I mean everyone's been doing it so long. But just to finish that story, Earl said to me, my advice would be to take it off the market, hire a general manager, and probably an assistant general manager, and you're gonna have to pay him, and then see how it goes, and then put it back on the market.
I'm going to push back against his advice. I don't think that's bad advice, but I think that I think you would need a manager for sure. Today, there are so many tools and resources and technologies out there that what does a manager do? It manages the systems and processes and make sure everything's being done. They're the layer above the frontline staff that knows what to do because of their experience and their knowledge, right? But with tools like Restaurant Systems Pro, Restaurant 365, that are basically the next line of systems for it's the checklist for the owner. Are you doing costing? Are you doing purchasing? Are you doing inventory? Are you doing labor management? Are you doing budgeting? Are you comparing your theoretical cost versus your actual? And there's like step-by-step processes to use that software to really kind of keep that's the rigidity that a manager does, right? So you can take somebody who has no experience, give them the system, the tool, teach them how to run the system, and then that will keep them in line. So you could create opportunity for somebody who's been working for you for how long and say, here's the system, but building that isn't easy.
No.
Getting used to that isn't easy, but it's easier with the technology today.
Absolutely. For us, the biggest hurdle is we're the face. We are
Right.
We are Delaney's hole in the wall.
Right. Well,
and everyone says that
it's Delaney.
when you leave, yeah, you are the face. You are the business.
What about the chef?
Well, that's my pushback would be that he's not interested in buying it. I looked at hiring from within.
I was gonna say at least he has the name.
Yeah, no, and he's great.
Yeah.
But he can't do it himself, and he would not be the front of the house guy.
Yeah.
But with a manager in place, Anyway, so
I'm hoping somebody's listening to this podcast and they go, hey Dick, let's talk.
Well, I took it off. I did. I hired a general manager a year ago.
Yeah.
He's been there a full year now, and it's been working.
Yeah.
We have taken more time and stepping away from the business and not being the face of the business anymore. And it's been a big transition in a short period of time.
That's awesome. Well, so the consultant gave some good advice.
I saw him at Terry O'Brien's mother, from the Red Parker pub. She passed away like a month ago, and she had a celebration. He was there.
Yeah.
And I went right up to him and thanked him for the good advice.
I think it is good advice. I mean, you definitely need that person, that anchor there with the experience. But I think today it's easier to train people up because you can put more rigidity into your business because of the technology that's advancing.
Yeah. He, the man I wound up hiring, and I mean, my biggest issue was finding someone that I could trust. Mm-hmm. I just never thought I would be able to find somebody like that I could.
How did you find
leave my baby?
Yeah,
with.
Yeah,
and it's really difficult. Well, it was like my mother said, things happen for a reason, dear. You know, this I had it on the market for a year, and all my acquaintances and customers would come in, and the first thing they'd say is, "Any luck? Anything happening?" You know, and this couple came in. Local people, and they asked me, and I said, no, I'm actually thinking I'm going to take it off the market and try to find a general manager. This is right after I talked to, and this guy says to me, you should call Eric Dietzig. And I knew who Eric Dietzig was. He ran Storyland up here. Big job. He was the general manager there for 13, 14 years, but not a restaurateur, but he managed 1,000 people. And I knew him. I knew his reputation. And he apparently, his timing was everything. Yeah. He was stressed out at Storyland. It was affecting his health. He was working 80 hours, la.
Yeah.
And he wanted out.
Yeah.
And so I did. I called him, and it took about 4 or 5 months of negotiating.
Yeah.
But I'm paying him really well, and through all the technology that he had at his disposal.
So when he came on a year ago, how has Delaney's transformed?
Well, my wife and my sister and I basically worked, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, all three of us, all the time. And
that was before he came on.
Yeah. And I brought him on. I told the girls we need to go through a full year cycle with Eric before we can take any time, and I want him to see the full year and really get an idea of what the place is like every season, every day. And so that just came up in November. Early November was when we hired him last year. And now the three of us are not on the schedule. We come and go. I wind up spending most of my time there now in the mornings, just doing the paperwork and
making time for interviews.
Yeah.
Thank you. Not skiing.
Yeah, not skiing on a powder day. But anyway, and he has grown into, the intricacies of our business and it really cares, and he really enjoys it. And it was just one of those things happen for a reason, dear moments, that I'm blessed.
But has he when he came in and he looked at what you were doing, obviously you're doing things right, but did he see an opportunity to evolve or change anything to do it better?
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of energy, a lot of great ideas, and we've implemented some, but we're going slow. Especially, we were very concerned about how our employees, long-term employees, were going to take the change.
What was the change?
The change was us not being around.
Was that his idea?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was pushing not he's like, you do what you want to do, but every time I try to implement something, he gets, that's not the way the Delaneys would want it. That's not the way the Delaneys would do it. That's, and
what are the things that he's trying to implement?
Well, really back to the basics. Service. We have a service sequence that we sort of, since COVID, we laxed, and not that our service was bad,
but the consistency.
Just we want to be the best.
Yeah,
and he wants to be the best.
Yeah,
and he got some pushback, and but we haven't lost an employee, front of the house or back of the house, and that's huge. So, and now looking at expanding our drink list, expanding our wine.
When you say
specials,
what do you mean?
Yeah, like I keep a tight. My wine list is 5 bottles of white wine and six different bottles of red. Not a big lineup, which I've always, I just didn't want to have so much inventory on hand because I just didn't need it.
It's easier to count.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. And I mean, for our type business, I just, you don't need a 2-page wine list, 3-page wine. It didn't make any sense to me. And he's not going crazy that way, but he just, and we closed 2 days a week.
Yep.
We took a ton of our more labor-intensive items off of our menu.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, because of the labor shortage. It just made no sense. Some really popular items that we took off the menu that pissed people off. You know?
So, looking at your menu, say 2019, how many items were on your menu then?
I'll tell you that it was a 4-page menu.
Oh wow!
And
was it a pretty full page? Each page pretty
every
full?
Page full. Well, yeah.
What was what kind of food were you serving? I know you have sushi.
We still have a big menu.
Give us an idea of what you're serving.
We make our own pizza, our own dough. We do sell sushi, which is amazing, and they do a tremendous job.
Yeah.
We have burgers, we have steaks, we have great saute items. Great sandwiches. We have. If you can't find something.
Yeah.
Great, unbelievable salads.
Yeah.
Really unique.
Well, I also think what you did there is kind of a product of the time when your restaurant was born, where there were more options. You had to find something for everybody.
Yeah.
But over time, there's been a shift where it's like, because it's so hard to train people on how to do that, because the cost of goods are going up, because it's just easier to show up online being known for doing one thing.
Yeah.
Like if you are a sushi, pizza, burger, sandwich restaurant, then a Google search doesn't really support that. If somebody types in, I want a burger, they're like, that search is optimized to find the place that has burger in the title of the restaurant. The world has changed a lot. So now it almost makes sense to do one thing really well, because that's how you get discovered digitally today. Yeah. And if you're only doing one thing really well, you can train your people all their energy and knowledge and their energy that goes into doing that one thing, which is just easier training. Labor, you don't need somebody with all these skills. They don't need to know how to make a pizza and roll a sushi roll. And I'm not trying to beat you up, but I'm saying the world is changing. Yeah, over time, 30 years you've been doing this.
I would agree with that, but I would also, I'm excited that we are getting back to the basics in the front of the house and going over menu items and explain. Having and the servers are coming away from it going, wow, I learned something, and it helps them be successful and make more money.
Yeah. So where's your menu today in terms of how much have you got?
Well, we're down to
3 pages.
A 3-page,
nice.
2-page, 3-page. Yeah. 2-page. Really, it's 2. It's a front and back.
How did you decide what to remove?
Basically, the more labor intensive stuff, and like our nachos were really popular, but they were a pain in the ass, and they took up too much. They took 25 minutes to cook, and they took up a lot of room in the convection oven.
Took that much time to cook, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we
take
them. Yeah, right. We lay
That's
the
way
cheese.
to do it, though.
It is.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it right.
You gotta layer it. Yeah, totally. And so Eric, my new manager, he's like, I'd like to do like a blast. Saying we're doing nachos Wednesday and Thursday night next week. Come on in, and just run them, like for a special.
Have you thought of using a turbo oven, like a turbo fan, like a part convection, part microwave, to get the inside cooked and the outside at the same time?
I haven't looked at it, no, but I'm sure the technology now is amazing.
You could do it in like 30 seconds.
Wow.
Have you ever been to Dunkin' Donuts and they put the sandwich in and like they go beep, and then 5 seconds later, something's like perfectly warm in the center and like crusty on the outside, and you're like, what the hell did you just do? It's a turbo chef. It's basically it's part convection, part microwave. So you get the crunchiness, and then you get the vibration of the molecules in the inside. So like it just is like it's so fast. I think it would melt the cheese really quick too.
Interesting. No, I haven't. I'm sure that's a costly piece of equipment.
Probably,
but
if you're slinging,
would it pay for itself?
If your throughput on nachos is like 10x,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I mean, is there anything we have not discussed up to this point, Dick, that you want to get out that you think should be discussed? I have some extra questions I want to get into, but I want to make sure that I want to really encapsulate your transformation, your evolution as an owner.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Delaney, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing and recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Delaney and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
I don't know. I'm probably not doing a very good job of.
No, you're doing great,
of
man.
Going through it, but it's been a hell of a ride, and you know, hard work and common sense can take you a long way.
Yeah,
it's been really enjoyable. I love my business. We worked a lot of hours the first 10 years, first 5 years. It's my family suffered for it, and there was a time there when I regretted doing it because we ignored our children.
When did that change?
I think once my kids got into the high school and then college, it's sort of, things were going good. We were still working a lot of hours, but I just felt less guilty that we weren't, that we, we're not ignoring our children, but, just they got it, but they suffered because of the work that we did. I mean, we couldn't go to, or we didn't go to sporting events and plays. And
so is it just that when they got older, they were more independent and more independent?
Yeah, and they were all ski racers, so they all wound up going away to high school.
Okay.
So they were out of the house at 13 years old.
But how awesome was it that you were able to send them to those schools?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, they got really good scholarships too because I couldn't afford. I wasn't making a pile of money the first.
Right.
First 15 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting into this business today, I think it would be a lot harder for people. I just think, there's so many because of the labor situation, the housing situation, and it's everywhere. It's not just in our valley. And just people are different. The customer is different, more needy. And, I'm talking to one of Brian Glenn, one of the owners of Horse Feathers. His son he's in the restaurant business down in Rhode Island. He has 2 restaurants now. He had 3, got rid of 1. And Brian was just in town a month ago, and he said, I would not want to be in this business anymore.
It's tough business. Right now. It's changing, too. Yeah. It's getting more and more competitive. How many more restaurants are there in North Conway, Jackson, the Valley versus 1994?
Yeah.
Are there more restaurants, would you say?
I would.
What percentage?
But they come and they go.
Right, but
it's still there's 100, at least 100 in this little community.
How much were there in 1994?
Yeah, probably 50. Yeah.
So not only is it like there's so many elements of it that are getting harder. The cost of goods is going up, the labor is going up, but there's more competition than ever before.
There is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the reasons we started the Valley Originals was to compete against the chains.
Great segue. Yeah. So that was the one thing I wanted to, a big part of why I'm here, why I wanted to speak to Jen. Jen was referred to me, but what piqued my interest, what got me excited was what you're doing with Valley Originals. So what are the Valley Originals?
Yeah. We're a group of 25 independent restaurants in the Mount Washington Valley, which encompasses Maine. Freiburg, Maine is considered the Mount Washington Valley. We have 2 restaurants over there, and goes all the way up to Hart's location, but generally North Conway, Jackson, Bartlett.
Got it.
We've morphed into we used to have group pricing, on our purchases, which really helped the little guys.
100%.
But it wound up not being a good model. So now, if you're going to be a member of the Valley Originals, we take 2% of your purchases, which the purveyors basically give us 2%, and we use that money to market ourselves and promote ourselves. And a few other things, but we give back to the community significantly, and Jen will give you the numbers.
Yeah, I'm speaking to Jen, who is the president and head of marketing. Is that her title?
She is our catch-all. I'm technically the president.
Oh, that's right. You're the president. She's the director of marketing.
She runs everything.
Yeah.
There's 25 of us, but there's really Wally had a restaurant. He's our executive director.
He was the founder, right?
He was one of the founders, along with Terry's father.
Yeah.
At the Red Park.
So I'm speaking with Wally, I'm speaking with Terry, and I'm speaking with Jen. So I think we're going to get deeper into the details of how the Valley Originals works. But how has it served you personally?
Yeah, it's been great. I think it's helped my business, and being the president has been, I feel guilty because it could be like the political side of our industry. 25 restaurants, we should be down in Concord. Our voice should be heard more down there than it is. And I just told them when I got the job, I'm not going to Concord every week to.
So wait, what do you mean by the political side? Why does your voice need to be heard?
We just had the tip wage just came up in the in the voting cycle.
So when you say down in Concord, for those of you across the country, Concord is the state capital.
Yeah, exactly. And so where all the business happens in New Hampshire, and all the rules are made. And the tip wage would have hurt us significantly because they make great money, and a lot of our servers are older mothers and fathers who just want 1 or 2 nights out to make a little extra cash.
Right. And
by taking away the tip credit, we'd be paying them, an hourly wage, and they wouldn't do it because they're making less money.
Yeah.
And so we'd lose that whole demographic,
right?
Which we can't afford to lose anybody
right
now. So that was a big thing, and that's something that we voiced. You write emails and you do that kind of stuff, but being in front of the politicians to make them understand the importance of what we do.
Right. And one thing I've learned in the restaurant industry, there are no 2 restaurants that are exactly the same. There are no 2 restaurant markets that are exactly the same. This is probably one of the most complex, diverse, it's just like I almost drove myself crazy trying to figure out what is like the secret, the path to become successful in the restaurant industry. And the only thing I've confirmed is that there is no secret. There is no singular path. It's all unique. It all depends on where you are, what your vision is, what your values are, what your strengths are. There is no one right way. So what works in the city, what works in a different part of the country might not work up here where you rely on part-time workers. You can't make a blanketed law that affects everybody because it doesn't. There are no 2 like situations.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. And our 25 restaurants are diverse,
right?
But that's a good thing. And
diversity makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, you don't need to go anywhere else but a Valley Original restaurant in this town, and we got you covered for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So I think I started asking you what were the benefits for you with the Valley Originals. So, and then from there you started talking about you're not being heard, and I pulled you off. Can you remember what you were saying?
Well, certainly the being able to bounce an idea off of other people, getting different opinions on different things that come up in our business.
How often do you guys get together?
Quarterly we meet.
What does that look like?
We usually meet at Delaney's.
Okay.
And there's, we sit around a large table and we have, an agenda depending on what's going on. And usually we just try to, have a couple of things that we think will help
What's the
our
framework?
members.
Yeah.
Jen, myself, and we'll always stand up in front of everybody, and Jen puts together the agenda, and we kind of go over stuff that's going on, and who we're giving money to, that kind of stuff, the pressing issues of the times, whatever, locally and regionally and nationally. But we try to focus locally on
It's a mastermind.
taking care of our local. The needs of our local community, but bouncing things off of people, and it still happens. You can just email, just say,
Right.
I'm looking for a new hood cleaner. Anyone got any ideas? I need a new whatever. Anyone got anything, for that? And people chime in and say, I just got this. I just do this, and it's nice to have the support of people.
I mean, that's my vision for Restaurant Unstoppable Network, which is literally my network of people that have been referred to me organically over the past 11 years, word of mouth, bringing people together just to do that, exactly that. We go further together. We need a place for independent operators. And I think we got to stop thinking independents and corporates, and we got to start thinking about what does the industry need? What's that balance look like? Is it more regional? Would you call Horsefeather a corporation with 7 locations?
Back in we probably would have back in the day.
Yeah. But I mean, do we need more how do we take those lessons from the big corporations? How do we treat our little business like big businesses in the sense of having those systems that let us maximize profit, but keep it soulful in a way that there's an identity and people behind that brand? You're spreading the wealth out. How do we find that balance?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think what separates an independent from a chain is that the owner is always around, and or if he's not, they're close by,
right,
and they're involved in every decision that happens at the restaurant. Where these chains that are coming into town, they're mostly people coming in from out of town who aren't connected with the community.
Why is that important? That the owner is always around. That the owner is part of the community.
I think because you can make quick decisions, you can pivot without running things up the flagpole,
right?
Which to me is a huge, like raising your prices. All of a sudden, beef goes through the roof. It takes a chain,
months,
6 months,
to
adapt. Change all your menus and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I can do it the next day.
Right, but why is it important to the community to have that? Why can't we lose independence?
Yeah, I just think people would rather support a local that they know than a chain. And I think the money stays more locally, where the chains and the chain hotels, the money doesn't stay here. It's going elsewhere.
Right.
And in our community, that's huge.
Yep.
It's everybody supporting everybody, and that's the way it works. You know, I spend my money at the supermarket. I support other restaurants. I support local small businesses as opposed to the chains. And that's, you can learn a lot from the chains, but they don't help.
Well, here's the thing. I think I read that you also source all of your ingredients locally as much as possible.
As much as possible, but everyone's doing that. It's a lot easier these days.
But is the corporation going to do that? Is the corporation going to give a F about the farm down the street that you have a relationship with, You know, or are they going to say, well, we can save a point here?
Yeah.
You know,
I think you get what you pay for. You know, a lot of people that come from out of town, they're comfortable with Applebee's. They know what they're going to get,
right?
And so they settle for that instead of trying an independent. But no, they're not sourcing.
Right. There is something to be said
locally
about human behavior and being familiar with a brand, right? And they say, "Oh, I know I know the expectation."
Yeah.
I think humans are by nature lazy. We were never meant to exist in this world where we can be on the other side of the country, let alone the other side of the planet, in less than 24 hours. So it's too much for the average person to be aware of where to go. We're not meant to have that much option. So we default to the path of least resistance, what we're familiar with.
Totally.
So I think that is an element, I hate to use the word unprecedented thing that we deal with today, where if you go back to the 80s, it was a small markets all over the country. And number one was number one, but you could spread out the number ones in the different verticals. There was a number one breakfast place. There was a number one burger place. There was a number one pizza place. And everybody got a piece of the pie. Now, if you want pizza, it's Pizza Hut. Now, if you want a burger, it's McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know, like if you want Chinese food, it's Panda Express.
Yeah.
So there is just too much options, and the brain is optimized for efficiency. So to give people and that's the world, but I don't know, it's my job to talk, it's your job to talk in these interviews.
No, but that's 100% true.
Yeah.
And you know, and it used to be all independent restaurants, and you had no option, you know, and so it was not easier. I mean, it's never easy, but you know, we didn't worry about the change.
Yeah. But I think what's important is that we have to become familiar with the fallibilities of the human mind, right? Our brains work a certain way, and the more we can learn how to reverse engineer or just understand how our brains work, we can at least override these tendencies to do the harder thing, the right thing, to support local restaurants, because we know the impact of that decision and what it can have.
I hope that's right.
Yeah.
You know, I hope people think that way. I just, you know, I again, word of mouth still is very powerful in our industry, and certainly in our community. People coming in from New York and Boston and Connecticut.
That should be the only thing that determines the success of a business, in my opinion, is what do the people in that community say about it? Not, okay, well, isn't that what Yelp does? You go in online and you leave reviews. Not necessarily.
No.
It's not quite the same.
That's not what we get at the front door. We get people saying, well, we were just at such and such. And, man, they told us we had to come to your restaurant.
Right.
You know, and that's powerful.
Right. But in the world we live in today with these marketing tools, and marketing is important, but the thing that is tough about marketing is that really at the end of the day, it's whoever spends the most money wins. And when you're up against the big corporations and you don't have the same budget to manipulate the digital assets that are pay-to-play ad market space, if you can't pay to be in front of all these people in all these different places, you're not going to be able to compete.
You know, that's one of the things right now that we're really struggling with is advertising dollars.
Yeah.
And what's the sweet spot? Where do you,
right?
You know, and I have guys that locally that have spots on Route 16 and say, I don't need to advertise.
Right.
I'm on Route 16.
Yeah.
You know. But in our industry, I think it's really important to be top of mind, and you know, and we have a local radio station here,
Yeah, I actually heard the ad while I was setting
which
up.
is really
What are
cool.
the odds?
Yeah, it's really, and so like right now we're sponsoring the ski report, which just starts next week.
That's cool.
And it's an investment, you know, and what do I get on the return? I can't really, it's not tangible.
Yeah.
But
we also have the gift cards too, which I'm sure that's probably more Jen's area, so we'll save that for her.
Yeah.
Dick, I've loved this conversation, man. I'm going to let you hit them out and go do some cross-country skiing. But before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple more questions.
You got
some closing questions. What is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that's uncommon and makes you truly unstoppable?
I think that because 99% of our food is homemade, and you don't get that everywhere. And I think for us, we're really proud of that. And it's labor intensive, but our food stands out compared to other places.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important.
Yep. The mission statement, again, is to change the world by inspiring, empowering, and transforming the restaurant industry. I think we're going to accomplish this by sharing personal transformations to give the industry aiming points, making examples of people like you, leaders like you, but how have you personally transformed? Who are you today versus the man you were when you got started in this industry?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely a better business person than I was, but I don't think I've changed my attitude. I still love greeting my customers at the door. I still love doing the little things that make a difference in our business, and that I'm just more confident in my decision making.
How are you a better business person? What do you do today that you weren't doing in the past?
Yeah, well, you know, I think I'm a better listener than I was when I first started in the business. I really didn't take advice and kind of just plowed ahead with what I thought was the best thing to do. And the Valley Originals has helped me learn a lot more about the intricacies and how to treat people better and how to make better decisions.
This last question is a doozy. I think I have an eye roll coming my way in 2 seconds. But if you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure. With the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of the industry, the good of your name, for your legacy, what would those 3 pieces of wisdom be?
I mean, you got to go back. For me, treat people the way you want to be treated.
1.
Yeah. Love what you're doing.
2.
And have a great partner.
3. This has been a lot of fun, Dick. Thank you so much. So if we enjoyed today's episode and we want to connect with you, or maybe come work for Delaney's, or maybe we have a question about the Valley Originals or something like that, or just want to follow along, maybe we want to eat at your restaurant, what's the best way to connect?
It's Delaney's.com. No apostrophe. Delaney's.com.
DELANEYS.com.
Yep. And I mean,
Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, but personally, I am not tech savvy.
I hear you.
I refuse.
I try to refuse, but I'm losing the battle.
I used to be pissed off at my father for not wanting to embrace it. Now I'm him.
It catches up. It moves faster than we can keep up with, man. Yeah. So who do you respect and admire? Jen told me to talk to you. I haven't spoken to Jen yet, but it was easier for you to get here and talk to me first. Is there somebody in the industry who is just killing it, who is profitable, who has knowledge that can share with us like you share with us today?
Yeah.
Fiscally responsible.
I mean, there's one of my friends, his name's Mike Santoro. He's got 4 or 5 restaurants now down on Martha's Vineyard. And he's the one who talked me into bringing the sushi in.
Okay.
He started doing it down there. And he turned, he's a single guy and turned one. He was a partner in one restaurant down there with 2 other guys. Wound up buying them out, and then has bought 4 other restaurants and a fish market on the vineyard. He's killing it. He's doing.
What's the name of his restaurant?
The Lookout is the first one he had, and it's in
Hyannis?
Not Hagertown, but no, it's on Martha's Vineyard.
I got enough. Is it Santoro? Santoro.
Mike Santoro, tremendous guy.
Look up, Mike. I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show. And this is where I say thank you so much for taking it. What's that?
He'd love it.
I can't wait. I'm going to make it happen. Mike, look out. I'm coming. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me, to let me ask you invasive questions, to get vulnerable, to share your story, to share your knowledge, and to miss a day of fresh powder. I appreciate you, my friend. And there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
I appreciate it, too. It's fun to reminisce and see how far we've come in 30 years. And I'm proud of it.
You should be. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks.